Hi everybody, welcome to Stamping with Melva. I'm Melva Peters and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in British Columbia, Canada. And you can find me online at stampingwithmelva.com. It's Tuesday night and I'm here with a sketch challenge for you. So this is actually number 73 for me. I've been doing it for, gosh, a year and a half. I've been doing sketch challenges. So hopefully people are going to join. This sketch will go live. I will post it on my Facebook group, Facebook page, and on Instagram in about an hour's time. So if you want to play along with the sketch, you can do that. I am going to do some watercoloring tonight. So I'm going to use the Season of Chic bundle from the annual catalog. It just seems like the perfect kind of, I don't know, stamp set bundle to add some watercoloring. Hello. Oh my gosh, it's raining in Alberta. It's a beautiful sunny day here, but we had rain yesterday. Hey, Nancy from New York. Hey, Lee, welcome. Oh, and Deborah from Australia. I'm glad you guys are all here tonight. So, okay, let me switch over to my desktop and I will show you the sketch and then we'll get started. All right, so this is the sketch. It looks pretty simple, pretty basic, but I'm going to add some shapes to it using some dies. So your card base is 5.5 by 8.5. It could be 4 1/4 by 11, and I think that's actually what I have here is a piece that's 4 1/4 by 11. Doesn't really matter which one it is. Depends on whether you just want a booklet fold or a tent fold card. Up to you. Layer number 1, which is kind of this yellowy orange color. The lighter one is 4 inches by 5 1/4. I'll bring this up a little bit so you can see. And then layer number 2, which is the darker orange, is 3 inches by 4 1/4. And then layer number 3, which is for your sentiment, is about 3/4 by 2 inches, or whatever fits your sentiment. That's my theory. And then you can spruce this up however you want to spruce it up. So let me show you what I'm going to do. I have got, well, first of all, let me bring in the Season of Chic. This is a really lovely bundle from the annual catalog. It's for every season, obviously. It's got everything from snowflakes to leaves to seashells to flowers and some lovely sentiments. Now, this one is actually, these images are 75% of what they normally are on here. So these images are actually quite a bit larger, particularly this thanks sentiment, which I love and I use a lot, is quite large. So be aware of that as you go to plan your card. And then this great set of dies. I've got them too. This is my favorite. I'm not using it today, but this is a great die that makes a great background. And then, of course, you've got all the dies to cut out the images, as well as these extra dies to cut out pieces for the seashells and the snowflake and the leaves. Just such a pretty sweet. The designer series paper is absolutely stunning. I've only got one piece here. It's got evening evergreen and soft succulent and petal pink and I believe calypso coral. So that's one side. And then on the other side, it is a specialty. It's got the gold foil. Hey, Polly, welcome. So just so pretty. That's the side I'm going to use. I just decided that that's just so pretty, although it is going to mostly be covered up. All right, grab my paper trimmer. So this piece is 4 1/4 by 11. So I said you could use a piece that is 5.5 by 8.5. And I'm going to, so this, my piece, I'm going to score in half, which is at 5.5. If your piece is 5.5 by 8.5, you would score it at 4 1/4. Everything's going flying tonight. Just before I came on, I went to bring over my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I set it down on the edge of a basket of things that I have with some of the things from the new catalog, the mini catalog, and it tipped over and I have ribbon spools that have gone flying. I'm going to have to clean up that when I get finished. All right, so this is the side I scored on. This is that raised line. So always fold into the raised line or into the mountain and give it a good burnish with your bone folder. All right, so then this piece is going to adhere on. You could add an extra piece if you wanted to. You could put a mat behind this just to give it a pop of color. But I'm going to just actually adhere this flat. Just so pretty. Try and get it even. There we go. Okay. All right, so that's my card base started. Now let's do some watercoloring. So I've got a piece, actually I've got two pieces of watercolor paper. This is the piece that's going to go on. I'm going to make a kind of a background in Calypso Coral and Petal Pink for that. And then I've got an extra piece that I'm going to do some watercoloring on. I'm going to cut out some flowers. So I'm going to do this in Calypso Coral. So I forgot to bring my Petal Pink. So when I do watercoloring, I bring my ink pads and open them up so that I've got the lid available to put some re-inker in. And I've got my re-inkers for Calypso Coral and Petal Pink. Let's make sure I get them going in the right thing. So I am going to, this is the one I want to do Calypso darker on because it's going to be for my flowers. And then this, I'm going to do kind of a wash of Petal Pink and Calypso Coral. So you don't need a lot. So just a drop or so. 2 drops is probably more than I actually will need. And I will put a couple of drops in here of my Calypso Coral. Said you don't need a lot when you're doing watercoloring. Now I'm going to start with my lightest, which is the Petal Pink. This is the water painters. I've got it almost partly filled, so it's about 3/4 filled. I find these work better for some reason when you've got them more full of water than they work when they are partly empty or a lot empty. I use this to create some green, so I'm just going to clean this. So I like to have baby wipes when I'm doing this. I did a piece in green a minute ago just for some leaves, so I didn't have to do that while I was on camera. So I'm going to put some water in. I'm just kind of adding some water from my water painter to both of these. And I still have some green coming off of this, so we'll see what this color looks like. All right, so I'm going to start with my lightest, pick up the color, and I am just going to go back and forth and whitewash this just to add some color. So it's actually apparently watercolor month, I think is what I read. So you will see a fair number of people doing watercoloring, I would guess. So now I'm going to start from the bottom on this one, and I'm going to go up over top. So it's kind of an ombre effect, and you can make it as light or dark as you want, but I want to just kind of gently go up. There we go. Okay, so this is going to be the one that goes, oh, that's going to look really pretty. So it's a bit of an ombre effect. You can definitely see kind of the lines in it. I'm going to let that go. Now on this one, I'm going to mostly focus on doing some Calypso Coral. And often when I watercolor, and I should have done that, is I try to add some water onto my watercolor paper. I am using watercolor paper. So add some water onto your watercolor paper to make it wet, and you will find that your re-inker or your ink will spread evenly. I'm okay with it being kind of like this. I actually want to cut some flowers from this, so I'm okay with the lighter and darker that I have going on here. If you wanted it to be more even, then put some water onto your paper first, and you will find that it spreads much more evenly than it has for me. But because I'm actually, and now I'm just going to wipe this, you don't have to, but if I've got a lot of liquid in my lid, I just kind of wipe it out so it doesn't kind of spill out the edges of my, or the seams of my color, of my ink pad. All right, now these are a little wet, so I'm going to take my heat tool and just kind of dry it so that one, I can cut it, and two, it'll adhere. So either do this ahead of time or take your heat tool and just kind of dry it. It doesn't take long. I still feel this one's got a lot of water in it. If you don't have watercolor paper, you could try this with the shimmery white. You will find that if you're just doing a wash, the shimmery white will work. If you wanted to do a little bit more watercoloring where you're actually coloring an image, you will find perhaps that the basic white just won't. It'll start to pill. And the shimmery white may start to pill depending on how much water. All right, so this is the piece that's going to go right on this. So that was kind of why I was okay with the lines. It just kind of looks like an ombre effect on there. Now with this one, I'm going to cut some. Now I went ahead and I did one. This is Evening Evergreen. And I didn't get this one variegated as I wanted to. So my leaves that I've already gone ahead and cut out are quite dark, but that's okay. And from this, I'm going to cut. This is why I wanted this to be a variegated. So I'm going to cut my base out of this light corner, and then I'm going to cut the darker flower out of that. And let's just move this out of the way and bring my Stampin' and emboss machine in. All right. So as I said, I'm gonna cut the background out of the lighter, and then this one out of the darker. Let me just run this through. And I think it's dry enough so that it cut out. Sometimes if it's not dry enough, you will find that it doesn't cut very well. But I have got this piece. This will be my outside image for my flower. Take your pick tool to poke those out. I'm just going to put one flower on and some leaves behind it. So this is going to go on like that. So you can kind of see why I wanted the darker parts of it darker. I've got my two leaves. I've got one. These are just the outlined leaves. So one's bigger than the other. And now I need to cut my sentiment, or stamp my sentiment. So I've got a piece that's 3/4 of an inch by 2 inches, and I am going to stamp the Thinking of You stamp. There we go. My Calypso coral is quite juicy. Okay, now I am going to use, you know what, I think I'm going to use, oops, everything's flying tonight, Stampin' Seal. And this is where I kind of debate about the adhesives. I typically these days am using the liquid glue, but if I want something to really stick, I will switch over to Stampin' Seal. And so because this is still a little bit damp, the Stampin' Seal I think will hold it better. So this is going to line up with the edge of my Designer Series paper. There we go. And then this piece, I'm going to pop that up using some dimensionals. And then I realized I forgot to get some basic white for the inside of my card. So when I've got a piece that is a little bit wider than the width of a single line of dimensionals. I stagger my dimensionals so that the middle, it doesn't wobble. And the middle, I put one in the middle, it doesn't sag. It's nothing worse than a saggy, wobbly sentiment piece, at least for me. All right, so I'm going to just put that one, and I'm lining up this one down there. This one with the edge of the designer series paper on this side and bringing it down. I just want it to be kind of down a little bit. Now, I think I will try this with somewhere I have my silicone mat. I could have, before I cut this out, I could have used, put adhesive sheets on it so it would have stuck. But of course, I never think about that until after, until I'm telling you how to do it. All right, and so this is just going to, this outline detail piece, it's just going to stick. And I've got glue kind of seeping out, so I'm just going to tap it down. It will dry clear, so I'm not too worried, except I get glue on my fingers. All right, and then I'm going to use dimensionals to pop this flower up. I could probably have cut a couple of flowers, but we'll just put a flower here in the corner, and then some glue dots. So I'm just going to take a glue dot and we'll glue these two leaves. So let's just tuck a leaf under like that. Oops. Yeah, this is still a little bit wet, my watercolor paper. Kind of pulled the back off, so we'll just kind of do like that. There. All right, now I just want to grab a piece of basic white. Of course, it's not cut. This will be for the inside of my card. Let's stamp this flower, just the outline of the flower in Calypso Coral. Actually, let's stamp, because I've got my petal pink out, so let's stamp the base of the flower in petal pink. Down here. And then let's stamp the outline. Let's see if I can get this roughly lined up. Like that, there. So this will be for the inside of my card. So there are lots of ways that you can use watercoloring. I've done some videos where I created, similar to this, where I created backgrounds so that you can cut your shapes. This way to create a nice kind of whole background image. Or you could do some watercoloring with your watercolor pencils on your images themselves. So lots of ways to play. And given that it is watercolor month, maybe bring out your watercolor tools and do some playing with them. Now, let's see. I have, these are the Elegant Faceted Gems, which just seem to coordinate so beautifully with this suite. I think I'm going to use the kind of, they come in clear, petal pink, and then these white. So let's use some of the white ones, because I think they'll show up maybe a little bit better than the, yeah, they show up a little bit better than the petal pink colors. Thanks, Deborah. Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad you guys joined me tonight. All right, so that's my card. That's the front and that's the inside. So I think that turned out. I love to play with watercolor. Anything that, I don't know, makes a mess for me. I love to do mixed media, and I used to do it a lot. And so the idea of creating my own backgrounds and and watercoloring, things like that are gorgeous. I just love them. So, all right. Hope you enjoyed that. I will be live again on Thursday night at 6:30 Pacific. And it will be a mystery challenge. So check out my Facebook page group or Instagram on Thursday morning. I have to think about this. Thursday morning at about 10. I think it goes live around 10. And yeah, inky fingers. Definitely wash the hands after this. So yeah, check for what the clue will be. I think last time we did a picture. I'm not sure what it'll be this time, but it'll be a mystery challenge, and I will give you the clue so you can come and make a card with me on Thursday night at 6:30 Pacific. All right, everybody, thanks for joining me. Oh, actually, I meant to tell you, if you live in Canada and you're interested, Diane Evans and I have a bingo and cards event on August 13th. It's actually featuring the textured chic, but the memories and more cards and envelopes and card pack. So if you live in Canada and you're interested, you can check out all the information on my Facebook group or page. It is registration closes July 17th. All right, everybody, thanks for joining me. Happy stamping. Bye.